Oh, snap!
The world is finally waking up to the crap that's baked into and sprayed on kibble dog food. No longer can commercial pet food manufacturers fool us with pretty pictures and false promises. This is the raw dog food truth. The view and opinions expressed on this podcast are not intended to replace medical advice. Before starting any raw diet, do research, ask lots of questions, and consult your vet.
Well, hello, raw feeders. I'm DeDe Murcer Moffett, CEO of a raw dog food and company, where your pet's health is our business. And we're friends like my friend, Brian Brandvis, top nutritionist extraordinaire. Yeah, Brian, you don't let friends feed kibble, do you?
Absolutely not.
What about when your freezer goes out? Because didn't your freezer go out? Hey, how did you know your freezer went out? What happened? And was it outside or inside?
So it's one of my garage freezers, and I noticed it because the organs that I had in there were thawed. Um, the the funny thing is, I guess it technically didn't go out because it's still running. It's just not cooling.
No.
And so I think that contributed to the delay because when I'd open it up, the light came on and um, the big 5 pound rolls were still frozen solid. It was just the when I grabbed some organs, I was like, oop, that's not good. Um, so but yeah, got to get a new freezer and it was one of, I got to thinking that how that kind of situation can probably be pretty panic inducing for some pet parents.
Sure.
With the food and everything. And I would say that, this is why we always talk about like how dogs are designed to eat raw food and how they're made. Because the food that's in there is still good. Now, I mean, I discovered it after, probably a day or something like that, or maybe not even that long. So we're not talking about like an extended period of time or um, anything like that. But, I got my food out of there and I'm not super worried about the rest of the food in there. I'll get it into the new freezer as soon as it's cool and we'll go along because my dogs are not me. There's no freezers, there's no refrigerators in the wild. So, a couple hours or, half a day, where that wasn't, in complete frozen conditions, it doesn't ruin the food. And so I hope that people aren't out there like throwing away food, um, because they forgot it in their car for a couple hours or something like that. Um, there's there's a margin for error when it comes to this food. It's not one of those things where, food doesn't instantly go bad.
No, it's all the bacteria that crawls up on there and it's going to kill them. I'm just like, I mean, okay. So people would say, well, what is the margin of error? Where would you say, I'm not going to feed it? At what point would you say, nah, I'm probably just going to toss that, start over?
I mean, smell. Um, you know, I think it's one of those things like spoiled meat and things like that to me, it's like you know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if I could describe like what I would think, um, y- you know, uh, bad food was, especially for my dogs.
But Brian, a lot
Because
of people think that tripe is spoiled. And so if you say, well, you know it when you see it, people are like, why? It's rancid. Well, that's a good word that describes how it smells. It smells. Some people say like a porta potty. Some people say, rancid. So I think, I don't know. I don't know. We as humans get grossed out. Obviously, dogs don't, right? Because they eat vomit and they eat poop, right? There's a lot of dogs out there. Think about this. There's a lot of dogs out there that have chorophagia, right? So that's where they just eat poop,
Mhm.
or is that, pica or whatever. And they're not dead. And I'm wondering why we don't make that connection. It's like there are, or they wouldn't sell the stuff that supposedly makes them stop eating it, which I've never really seen that work. But there are some dogs that literally just eat a bunch of shit. Literally.
Mhm. Yeah, and like I said, it's hard for me to answer that question about, because I mean, I've been doing this for almost 7 years, and I don't think that I've ever thrown out any food.
No, as a matter of fact, we have used the
Um,
food that people say that they can't feed their dogs because there's something wrong with it. And we're like, okie doke.
and
Well, we're not going to
yeah,
sell it. So just bring it on back and we'll feed it to our
eh,
dogs.
and I have definitely done some, you know, non-advisable things. I mean, I've left food in my car overnight in the middle of summer.
Yep.
Um,
I have
and
too.
I put it back in the freezer and put it back in the rotation, and the dogs have been fine. Um, so I don't know. I guess it's just one of those confidence things that comes with time. Um, that you get to know your dogs and what they can handle, um, and I will say, when it comes to, food gets blamed for a lot of things, but it's rarely ever the food. It's it's something else. If your dog gets sick because they ate some food that maybe sat out on the counter longer than you would have liked, there's something going on in them that their protection mechanisms are down. And
Right.
that's, you can't blame the food.
Yeah.
Because a healthy dog would have ate that food and been fine.
Hmm.
So,
And
um,
that's good advice for folks that get things shipped. Okay. So when you get things shipped, right, and people are really worried, oh my gosh, I'm afraid it's going to be totally thawed out. Rarely has it ever been totally thawed out, right? It's still cold, and even, a lot of different raw companies out there will say your food's fine if it's cold. But I think people can make things up in their head, and it frightens them, so they toss it. But that's good food, good money that you're tossing out. So good for you. Did you get a new freezer?
I did. So
So all is
we're
well.
we're back in business, and
How old was that freezer?
5 years.
That's
So
it?
very, very disappointed. Um,
Five
it's
years?
Yeah. Um, and the funny thing is you go to the appliance store and you tell them, you're like, hey, I need to replace this, and it was X number of years or whatever, and they always nod and they're like, yeah, that's about right. And I'm like, then why does it cost this much? If you're telling me I have to replace this every 5 years, then it needs to cost about half of what you're charging. And then I'll gladly replace it every 5 years.
Right.
But stuff is, refrigerators, $3,000, and and the guy at Home Depot, I remember one time told me that fridges now are 10 years if you're lucky.
You know what? I was
You
walking through
know,
Home Depot a couple of days ago, and this lady, the stalker, she said, hey, she wanted to talk to somebody. I was like looking around. She was like talking to me. I said, yeah. She said, I got to show you something. She said, you see these garbage bags right here? She said, they used to be $8.95 for 55. And she scanned the new one. She goes, these are the new ones. What do you see? And I was like, I don't know. What do I see? And she said, There's only 50 in here. There's 5 less and it's $1 more. I said, yes, ma'am. That's what we call shrinkflation. She was so mad it was Procter and Gamble. I'll never buy from Procter and Gamble again. I said, I know. I get it. So Brian, what's the strangest question that you've been asked this week? Being a nutritionist.
Oh gosh. I actually don't think I've been asked anything really strange. I would say, yeah, I mean, it's not a strange question, but a very popular question is, what can I add to my dog's food?
Your finger
And
stirring it up? I don't know.
I get the feeling that people are just they're they just they can't process that the food is complete and has everything that you need. And they want to add something to it. They're like, don't I need a topper?
Sell
Don't
them
I
a
need some
topper.
don't I need some Dr. Harvey's?
Okay, no, I'm going to say no on that one.
You know, and so um, just I don't know. I I don't know if it just doesn't look like it's enough or anything like that. But I love to add things to my dog's food. And we encourage people to add stuff. We talk about, eggs and tripe and, fish and, things like that. Have fun, mix it up. And, um, you got some, you got some leftover broccoli stalks that I mean, I don't know who wants to eat I hate the broccoli stalks. I'll just eat the tops, but I won't eat the stalks. Throw those things in the bowl. I mean, that's great. But, there's a difference between benefit and uh, a necessity. There's nothing that you need to add to your dog's bowl. If you're feeding a species appropriate diet, like what we sell, there's nothing that you need to add. But there's things that you can that are benefit, but they're not going to make a difference. They're not making up for anything that's missing. And I think people need to understand that distinction.
Well, let me give you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think a lot of these companies that are out that do toppers and people that kind of fall for that marketing and stuff like that. That stuff is being added to make up for what's missing from the species appropriate part of the diet. Meat, bones, organ, and fat, that's what you need. So, let's concentrate on meeting those needs before we start worrying about what else we can throw in the bowl. I think a lot of pet parents, when they're feeding their dogs, they're more concerned with the color of the drapes than pouring the foundation of the house. So let's make sure that we're getting everything they need, and then we can have fun adding other stuff in there. As long as it's whole food, fresh, real food, add it in. And I think that, one of the great things that you can add in if you're really looking for something is mushrooms.
And we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. But I want to ask you this question really quick. Brian, I'm going to read you this recipe. Okay. And I want you to tell me in this recipe how you might change it up to make it even healthier and easier. But again, this is a company that does a little magic, and maybe we need to create some magic, meaning we need to create all these things that you can add to your dog's food because people love that, and we tell them that all the time, but they still want to add. Okay. But if you are someone that wants to save some money and you want to make sure that your dog is getting everything that they need from the food, then that's what we can do for you right here at rawdogfoodandcompany.com. But Brian, here is this recipe. Okay. Beef, and then tripe, liver, kidneys, spleen, canned pink salmon, bone meal, canned boiled oysters, and raw sunflower seeds. What do you think about that? Because I saw this and it's they say, well, this is a complete and balanced, and they make it sound really kind of difficult. But how else would you? We pretty much have this right here at Raw Dog Food and Company. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, that was a rockin' recipe right up to the canned pink salmon. Um, so yeah, I think everything from the salmon on down, get it
Which
out
is
of here.
so we're going to
Um,
take out from this recipe. We're going to take out the salmon. We're going to take out the bone meal. We're going to take out the boiled oysters and raw sunflower seeds. What do you want to? What else do you want to put in there?
I'm gonna throw a sardine in there, and then I'm gonna throw in a duck head or a duck wing. Some raw meaty bone that my dog can get some enrichment and get some of the instinctual behaviors out by rip tearing and shredding at a bone.
So
Um,
basically, this is our beef and tripe recipe, minus those four things that you talked about that you don't need, and just add a sardine, as we love to add, and add
mhm.
a duck head or a chicken wing. Bada bing, bada boom. How about a chicken foot? Because what we're doing is we're getting the real bone in that, right? And we're getting our omega 3s from the fish, real fish with real bone. But this is what these companies do. They do these calculations and they make it really difficult. And I don't know. I think in today's world, people don't have time for these big long spreadsheets. So let's think it out. Let's make it simple. And that's what Brian can do for you right here at rawdogfoodandcompany.com. All right, let's talk about mushrooms, Brian. Why do you like them? What up with the mushrooms, man?
I like mushrooms because mushrooms have been healing people for thousands of years. Um, they they're rooted in traditional Chinese medicine. And um, I was reading something the other day that was talking about how the medicinal properties of mushrooms are in almost every like modern day pharmaceutical. Um, but they can't patent mushrooms. You can't, a company can't come out and, grab mushrooms and patent them and sell them. So these pharmaceutical companies are taking components of things like mushrooms and herbs and plants and things like that. They're taking bits and pieces of them and they're putting them into a pill and slapping a patent on them. And so it's like, why not? It's the same as what we were just talking about with that recipe. It's like, why use bone meal when you can just use real bone?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because
you know,
the fake stuff is just as good as the real stuff. And if you don't agree, you're racist. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
um, so yeah, so I mean, I think mushrooms are great and they have so many benefits. And again, if you're really looking for something to add to your dog's bowl, if you're really set on, I don't think they're getting enough or they need some sort of boost, then yeah, let's add some mushrooms in there. Um, you know, some of the benefits of mushrooms is immune resilience, brain and nerve function. They support that. They manage oxidative stress. They help maintain the gut flora and healthy digestion, encourage skin and coat vitality, and promote calm demeanor during stressful events.
I need
Um,
them. I need mushrooms in my
I mean,
life.
you know, who wouldn't want any of those things for their dog? You know, um, and um, so yeah, I think that you know, I think mushrooms are a great addition, and they're easy. Um, and we make it even easier because we have brought in some mushroom products from Mycodog, which is a really good company out there doing a lot of great things in the mushroom world. And and yeah, these products are exciting. And uh,
So, do you know that the name for reishi mushrooms is the mushroom of immortality? It's the mushroom of immortality that's in traditional Chinese medicine. So,
yeah,
why? Yeah,
I've seen it as the mushroom of longevity. That's what I've seen. But
there you go.
yeah,
Mushroom
it's
of
the same thing,
longevity.
immortality,
Yep.
longevity. Yep. Yeah. Reishi is one of those king of the mushrooms out there. And you know, turkey
Turkey.
tail is another one.
Yeah.
That you know, and mushrooms have been you know, historically, they have been very, very effective in cancer, supporting cancer patients,
Yeah.
um, and and aging is another one. Um, you know, almost all the uses that I see for a lot of the mushrooms point to using them to support your dog as they get older, um, and you know, whether they're dealing with you know, the onset of doggy dementia, you know, or they're not showing any signs and you just want to support them as they get older. You know, mushrooms are great way to do that. Um, and
There are
um,
some deadly mushrooms out there, guys, and death cap is one of them. Death cap, as the name says, death cap, and then there's another one called destroying angel. Now, I don't know about this one, but one of the reasons I know about death cap is because I had listened to a podcast on the mushroom killer, and she basically went out and foraged, and this was in I don't know if it was in the UK or was in Australia or someplace like that. Maybe it was in Australia. And she went out and foraged and called her husband's family over. Base is she was mad at her husband, mad at his parents. Basically, she killed like I think four people, put them in the food, killed them. So long story short, don't make sure that you don't it just give your dog any mushroom that is wild out there because there are some that are very neurotoxic and you may think that they're all good but they aren't all good, so stay with some that's already been formulated, already been um proven, like the ones we have from Michael Dog and also the ones that we have from Adored Beast and Four Leaf Forever. So we have quite a array of mushrooms right here at Raw Dog Food and Company. Um,
yeah,
which
that's
yeah,
that.
you
No,
rotate those.
I was just yeah, I was just gonna say that's a really good point. You know, I get some mushrooms in my lawn, especially after it rains.
The white
Um,
ones.
Yep. And I mean, pretty impressive too. And you know, I hope that people aren't tempted to, um, you know, I always get rid of them because I don't want, you know, not only my dogs, but, you know, people walking their dogs, through the neighborhood. I mean, we know how dogs like to put things in their mouth. Um,
Right.
and so that's a good tip about being careful, which is why it's good to work with somebody who's done all the work, the hard work for you. Um, because none of the mushrooms that we have in the store, um, are going to be a problem for your dog or a problem even for you. Um, these are all, you know, these can be taken by humans as well. And that also leads to another point too, that, the mushrooms that you find in the store are all going to be safe for your dog. So if you wanted to, give your dog some, shiitake mushrooms that you sauteed up or something, assuming that you're not doing it in a lot of butter or, things like that, those are all perfectly safe for your dog as well. Just remember that mushrooms, like, vegetables, um, your dog needs help breaking them down. So don't give them to them raw. Um, you gotta cook them up a little bit. You gotta saute them, you know, something like that, and then they're able to digest them.
Right, right,
Um,
right. And we do have the ones that are in powder form that you can add to the raw food. And then we also have the ones that are in liquid form. Now, on the liquid form ones, like the turkey tail and I believe it's the reishi, is it? No, chaga. Turkey tail. No, it's the chaga and which ones are the liquid forms again? Chaga
so
and
for the single mushroom extracts, we have turkey tail and chaga from Adored Beast, and then we've just brought in lion's mane and reishi from
gotcha.
Mycodog. So we've got all four now, um, and just a different company on the lion's mane and reishi.
Now, if you have the liquid mushrooms, you just go ahead and drop them right in the mouth, or do you put it in the food?
I just put it in the food.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. That's the easiest way. And it's just going to go through the digestive system, and um, you know, um, you could put them right in the mouth if you wanted. But with something like reishi's pretty bitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think your dog, um, he may not like you as well as he liked you before. If you shoot some reishi straight into his mouth. So probably best to mix it up in the food, um, and let him get it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, guys, let's make sure that we get those mushrooms out of the lawn. Don't let your dog eat those. Now, some of them aren't going to be toxic, aren't going to be dangerous, but we don't want to take that chance, right? So I would just steer clear of any of those. You can always get yourself you can just search for it online and get pictures of what do toxic mushrooms in the yard look like, and then just get rid of those. They're not going to hurt your grass or anything like that, but it could be toxic to a cat or a dog. But again, we want you to add things that have the biggest bang for the biggest bang for the buck, right? And that's why we only carry certain supplements. We don't carry every supplement out there. The ones that we carry are very powerful, very potent, very clean, and very effective. So, yeah, if you want to add something to your dog's food, let's add some mushrooms. And I dare say you could probably take these yourself. I know that I now it does say just for, uh animal consumption only, but I guarantee if you talk to Julianne Lee, she would say her entire staff takes her stuff. So,
Yeah, we can't tell you to do it, but I can tell you that I've done it.
oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
so
I mean,
take
I
that
don't
take that for take that for what it's worth.
Right.
You know, but yeah, you know, officially it has to be labeled for pet use only and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Uh,
And then and also too, just you know, real quick, we have the single mushroom extracts that we mentioned, and
mhm.
then we also have 4 blends. Now these are going to be mushrooms that are mixed with adaptogens, and those are typically herbs, plants, you know, things like that. Um, but these blends are all designed to support different areas of your dog's overall health. So we have Clarity, which is designed to support brain and cognitive health. We have Vitality, which is designed to help support normal immune function. Vitality is if if you don't know what product to use or you're confused and not sure, go with Vitality because Vitality is just your overall, um, you know, great addition to the bowl. If you know, if you're not dealing with anything or you don't know anything else specifically, just add that one. We have Breathe, which is designed to support respiratory and cardiovascular function. This is a great product if you have a dog, you know, maybe you're struggling with some signs of collapsed trachea, you know, because they, you know, improper leash or collar in the past or something like that. Um, you know, this is a great product for that. And if you have one of the flat-faced dogs out there, the pugs, the French bulldogs, you know, the dogs that we know have a harder time breathing, that's a great product to include in there to help just support them a little bit better. And then we have Digest to help maintain a healthy gut and microbiome. And to support normal digestive function. So, um, you know, that one I think is a great one if you know, maybe you got the gurgling stomach or, you know, the after eating burps or something like that. It might be a good one to throw in there. But the most important thing out of, you know, all of those products that we have that we brought in is just like the food, rotate, rotate, rotate. Um, you know, if you want to target something specifically, we have a product for that, or just start with one and work your way through, you know, and you know, do a bottle of Vitality, and then the next time try a bottle of the Clarity, you know, or get one of um, the single mushroom extracts. You're not going to go wrong with any of them. Your dog's going to get benefit from them, and
Would you take a
and it,
break? Would you take a break at any point and not do any mushrooms at all and then come back?
I I think yeah, I think a break from anything is good. Um and you know, I personally um I don't give supplements on the weekends. Um I do give I guess I got to take that back because I do give Phytosynergy. I do kind of a modified fast on Sunday,
Hmm.
where my dogs just get a really easily digestible meal. And so I sprinkle a little bit of the phytosynergy in there, you know, just kind of as a little bonus because that's one of my favorite supplements. But yeah, for the most part, um, I won't do supplements on the weekend. That's one way that you can take a break. Or I know a lot of people will do 3 weeks on, 1 week off. So they'll give supplements for 3 weeks and then they'll stop for a week and then start back up. And that just gives the body a chance to kind of reset and also for you to kind of, you know, look and see, you know, is this working? Do I need to, you know, do I need to change the dosing? Um, you know, things like that. Because you're going to see, you know, you're going to get to see the dog a week of not getting the supplement. So I think that's always a good idea. They call that pulsing, and yeah, that's always a good idea.
Good deal. I like it. You're making me want to get all the mushrooms and put them in my food, right? See if I feel better. Yeah, so we do have some of the best supplements out there, and you can get them on sale many times on the Yappy Hour sale. We're going to have some type of supplement on sale. And remember, we do have free shipping if you buy $100 or $99 worth of supplements, or if you buy $99 with a combination of supplements and treats. Okay, then we're going to ship those to you free. That's a great way to get your supplements. So remember, that's every Wednesday night from 4 p.m. Colorado time to midnight. And you don't even have to wait for the announcement. We do announce that every week, but just to remind you, but you just head over to our website at that time at 4:00, go to the sales page, and you're going to see all of that stuff there for your perusing and your saving money opportunity. And if you need help buying food, I get it. People come to our website and they get a little bit confused because we have a lot of products. However, that's why Brian is there. And you could just send a question in the chat and he'll respond back. Or you can even text us on that main line, and our staff sees it and somebody will respond. So you don't necessarily have to sign up for that consultation. But if you would like to, Brian's got you covered. So just go in and sign up, and we will get you and your dog happy, healthy, and eating what you were created to eat. Maybe not the humans, but at least the dogs. Right? And don't forget, if you want to snag some of your dog's mushrooms, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. All right. So get your dogs on a species appropriate diet. Get over to rawdogfoodandcompany.com. We have so much for you right there, including Mr. Brian. And if you have a question that you want us to answer on the podcast, just send it to info@rawdogfoodandcompany.com, because here at Raw Dog Food, your pet's health is our business. And what, Brian?
Friends don't let friends feed kibble.
That's right, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.